In 2016, President Muhammadu Buhari gave a stern directive for not only the development of massive and affordable housing, but one that is cost-effective and luxurious. The Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, under the leadership of Babatunde Raji Fashola, took up the challenge. Some years later, millions of Nigerians are smiling into their homes, saying goodbye to the end of their heartbreak of rent payment. How many homes have so far been delivered? What are the criteria for owning the homes? These and many more questions will be answered by the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing tonight. Thank you for joining us. I am Ian Ray John, and this is Weekend File. Welcome. First, the news. As part of efforts to check the rising incidence of foreign exchange speculation, which has brought pressure on the value of the naira, the chairman of the EFCC, Abdul Rashid Bar, met with representatives of Bureau de Change operators in Abuja. The commission called a meeting to fashion out a collaborative stakeholders' response to brazen foreign exchange speculation, especially at the parallel market, which is hurting the country's monetary policy by instigating Iran on the value of the naira. The operators of the Bureau de Change expressed optimism that the naira's rebound, which began after the EFCC's intervention a few days ago, may eventually see the currency return to its pre-speculation value. The chairman also disclosed that the commission has intelligence linking some persons and organizations to the hoarding of foreign currencies, especially the United States dollars, in the key commercial cities across the country. The chairman of the commission warned those involved to desist or risk arrest as a major offensive against the speculators is underway. In other news, Gombe State Governor Muhammadu Inuwa is seeking more collaboration with the military to sustain the prevailing peace in Gombe. The governor made the appeal during a visit to the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, in Abuja.
Considering the situation of the country with its various challenges, and even upon that, they are able to help us maintain the peace, especially in Gombe State and in Barros. That's why I came to thank the Chief of Army Staff and to seek for more support of how we could boost security and manage the affairs of the people of Gombe and indeed the entire people of this country.
The governor earlier had a similar deliberation with the Chief of Defense Staff, General Laki Rabo. Governor Inuwa commended the Nigerian Army and its sister agencies for their role and relentless efforts in containing the current insecurity bedeviling the nation. Now, looking at education, examination bodies and other stakeholders in the education sector must be firm in the fight against malpractices in the system. The Registrar, JAMB, Professor Ishaq Oloyede, stated this in Lagos while monitoring a map-up exercise for year 2022 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination.
It was a rare second chance for these Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination candidates who sat for the admission examination earlier this year but had their results cancelled due to established cases of malpractices at their centers. So, for the second time in 1 year, the process began all over again as they had their biometrics captured before accessing the computer-based centers. Speaking after a last keystroke in the examination hall, Abraham Itunuluwa applauded the mop-up.
I just think that, yes, the opportunity was given to us and we were able to make it up. I'm shocked when they said we were going to write it again, and I was so happy because I know I'm not writing JAMB next year again.
Very hard for me to come back again to do what I expected to have been done before.
The other time, it was a 7 o'clock exam. We left very early. Today again, we are repeating this because of some few bad eggs engaging in exam practices.
We have to teach our children to read. Even though if they cheat, the thing will show.
For JAMB Registrar, conducting the mop-up at a huge cost to the nation represents how determined the board is to put a stamp of integrity on the examination.
Better tomorrow is not to cheat in the examination. You have seen now that even the cutting corner does not pay, and you have seen where you are repeating the examination. Yeah, it costs us money, but you are going through some problem, so it doesn't pay. The only shortest cut to success is hard work.
He also warned parents against aiding their children to cheat during tests. A total of 42,000 UTME candidates drawn from 5 affected states were identified by the board to benefit from the mop-up in Lagos. Adini Itaiwo, NTA News.
And on environmental issues to control flood and erosion-related challenges in Rivers State, the federal government has inaugurated some projects. Joy Uzo brings us details.
The Federal College of Education Technical Omoku in Ogba Igbimandoni local government area of Rivers State played host to a team from the Ecological Office of the Presidency. The project would end the disruption of academic activities caused by flooding in the institution.
That ecology has been one of our major problems. My governor has been crying over it every day. The Federal College of Education Technical OMOG made their request, and that is the yielding back to their request. Other parts of the country that also requested or want this type of attention, we also make a request, and I think the office of the Permanent Secretary and that of the SGF, they've been honoring it accordingly.
The ceremony is aimed at ensuring the dual purpose of taking ownership of this and sustainability of the project by the beneficiary, community or institution.
Approved as one of the 22 ecological intervention projects for the third and fourth quarters of 2020, the 4 drainage channels stretching between 1 to 9 kilometers is spread across campus 1 and 2 of the institution.
Before this time, it's not easy to pass through this place. But now, with what has been done, we can drive in and drive out at will.
We executed it according to the needs of this place. We carried them along and we made them to know the importance of sustaining and maintaining this channelization.
The intervention, stakeholders note, is a reminder that the federal government was fulfilling the aspirations and yearnings of Nigerians through government agencies like the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project, HYPREP. From Amok in Ogba Igbima Ndoni local government area of Rivers State, Joy Uzo, NTA News.
A breath of fresh air is in the offing for stakeholders in the maritime domain. This is as the Nigerian Ports Authority is taking steps towards addressing bottlenecks militating against efficiency and traffic reduction at eastern ports in Nigeria. Kingsley Amajiri reports.
The Managing Director of Nigerian Ports Authority, Mohammed Koko's visit to Port Harcourt and Onne ports is in furtherance of efforts by the management of NPA towards addressing bottlenecks and in turn stimulate more import and export activities through the eastern ports. He met with stakeholders in the sector where key issues bordering on ease of business transaction, security and driving traffic to eastern ports were addressed.
If you use 5 hours to do clearance alone, they don't have to be affected. People can have practice at least up to 3 hours. It will assist in reducing the waiting time of vessels.
So we are taking actions to ensure that some ports are well supported to encourage volume of business coming into the ports.
Key target of this government action is also towards decongesting the Lagos ports.
But of course, most of the ports in the east, the problem is the draft of the channel, and that's what we are looking at. So it's not just to reconstruct the quays; we also need to, dredge deeper so that bigger vessels will come in, and then the economies of scale will set in, and then you'll be able to bring in those containers cheaper. We are beginning to see increased activity in Onne, and we're happy to see what is going on in Onne.
The visit enabled the managing director and his entourage to assess terminal operators' facilities and inaugurate projects. In Port Harcourt, Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Elsewhere, work on the Calabar-Itu Federal Highway is progressing and commuters are excited. Kelvin Samuel reports that the Akwa Ibom State section of the road is already wearing a new look.
In the past, a journey from Akwa Ibom State to Cross River State was described by commuters as horrifying due to the bad state of the road. But the situation today is fast changing with ongoing dualization of the road, all thanks to the federal government of Nigeria. For the people, this is heartwarming.
We also thank the president of the country by thinking that this area of Calabar to highway should be dualized.
Well, it's a welcome development. We are impressed.
Immediate past senior special assistant to the president on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Itain Amwai, inspecting the project, which he is passionate about, assures of the president's promise to complete the project.
Mr. President is committed to delivering on most of the projects, including this. President Muhammadu Buhari has delivered on infrastructure and other things. Work is about 25% completion, and you have seen at least the part in Akwa Ibom for yourself.
This project on completion is expected to improve the socio-economic lives of the people of Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Abia, and adjoining states. In Uyo, Kevin Samuel, NTA News.
Meanwhile, housing development has been identified as critical to achieving the federal government's drive of job creation and overall national development. This was part of the issues raised at the 11th meeting of the National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development, recently held in Sokoto. Talhatu Abdullahi reports.
The purpose of the 11th meeting of the National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development, recently held in Sokoto, was to assemble relevant stakeholders in the housing sector to deliberate and adopt policy measures toward addressing the critical challenges of the sector. During the technical session, 74 memoranda being submitted by stakeholders were extensively deliberated on. The governor of the hosting state, Aminu Waziri Tambol, urged the council to carefully examine presentations by experts to reach viable and effective decisions.
I therefore appeal to this council to come up with whatever policy that would be implementable with ease so that states and other stakeholders can access funding for housing schemes.
Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, urged delegates at this council meeting to synergize in ensuring that affordable houses are provided for Nigerians.
Housing provision is a collaborative effort by all levels of government and by the private sector.
The council adopted 7 sub-themes to guide its deliberations, which led to further deliberations on the 42 key recommendations contained in the technical report. In Sokoto, Dalhatu Abdullahi, NTA News.
Time for a first break. Weekend File continues shortly. Please stay. Glad to have you back. The dream of home ownership by many Nigerians has been fulfilled, and this is realized through the ongoing provision of massive housing, which is a presidential mandate expected to deliver more than 5,000 homes across the country. Abdullahi Muhammad reports.
What a turning point for Musa, a civil servant who began his working career in Abuja as a squatter.
I was squatting with one of my uncles.
Now, a proud owner of a bedroom apartment.
But I want to be like you.
That sharing moment explained in clear terms the translation of the objectives of the National Housing Program, and from top to bottom, it's delivered in a class of its own. More than 700 units of flats a year, just a stone throw from the Zuba interchange, and it consists of flats that fits the pockets of every strata of Nigerians.
If you visit our Zuba project, you will see that it is a total package as far as, sitting down and housing project is concerned. And the reason is not far-fetched. The government of President Muhammadu Buhari not only promised mass stroke affordable housing, for Nigerian mass people, also promised that they won't go the way of the past.
See around the neighborhood, you will see that Baby Saloon has come up. You can see that the cost of the land has gone up. You can see that people are even building around our estates, and that is what the program is all about. Apart from housing deficit that we're trying to bridge, the National Housing Program is also designed to share the dividends of its development with host communities.
You employed indigenous people that are there in the locality, and through that a lot of job was created.
The construction of about 6 federal secretariats is also ongoing, with 4 on the verge of completion. This means that Yusuf and millions of other civil servants would not only smile to their new homes, but brand new office complexes that closes the gaps between federal offices in states across the country. In Abuja, Abdullahi Muhammad, NTA News.
Many thanks, Abdullahi. And from Kano, Muhammad Ali reports that the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing has formally handed over keys to beneficiaries of the National Housing Program Phase 1, and the second phase has also been completed and now ready for access with flexible online application payment option.
Housing deficit remains one of the development challenges successive administrations have been inheriting from their predecessors. The present government, not an exception, with a deficit put at 28 million houses. However, in the last 7 years, the federal government has pursued robust mortgage reforms towards enhancing accessibility and affordability with a view to meeting the component of the 2023 Sustainable Development Goals. This is phase 1 with 76 housing units in Kano.
This apartment, will you have to fulfill all conditions for the budget of this house?
Faruq Adamu, an indigene of Kano, is one of the beneficiaries.
I feel excited, I feel delighted. I can't express even the feeling. I can't have a words that I can explain the feelings. I'm happy that I've been part of this.
The second phase has also been completed, now readily available, while the third phase of the housing program is under construction at the Dawanau area.
The advantages of owning a house in our national housing program estates include the well-spaced sizes. I'm sure you can see all of them. These sizes are not very common. So please take advantage of what we have and apply to own these houses.
The national housing program is geared towards encouraging Nigerians to avail themselves of the benefit of affordable and accessible housing. Muhammad Ali, NTA News.
And in Imo State, the Federal Ministry of Housing has so far handed over housing units to some beneficiaries of the National Housing Estate. Beatrice Ayam reports that 3 players in the 1991 Super Eagles Nations Cup winning squad are among the beneficiaries.
The federal government in 2016 commenced the construction of phase 1 of the National Housing Scheme in Imo State, with the primary objective of providing shelter, especially for low-income earners. So far, the housing program, which has 68 housing units, comprising 16 units of 3-bedroom bungalows, 28 units of 2-bedroom bungalows, and 24 units of condominium, with road infrastructure, water, and power supply, has been completed. As a mark of commitment to actualizing its vision, keys have been handed over to 4 beneficiaries, including 3 former Super Eagles 94 team members, Emmanuel Amonike, Uche Okafor, and Aloy Ago, in fulfillment of the promise by the federal government to the players for winning the 1994 Nations Cup.
I am so glad, I'm so thankful to God. I'm thankful to government of Nigeria also. A lot of people have been looking forward to have this opportunity.
The phase 2 is near completion, with work still ongoing.
The infrastructure are there, road, asphalted roads, drainages are provided. Even you can see the colonial premises is also attracted. And every other area is well taken care of. Make sure that the houses are something just buy and check it. You don't need to do any further work.
Yeah, we've been having challenges of thefts. We appeal to the government, up the security.
While the federal government is being commended for executing the housing program, some indigenes of the state are appealing for expedited action towards the completion of the housing estate and provision of perimeter fencing, as some unauthorized persons are already beginning to occupy some of the buildings in Owerri. Beatrice Anyam, NTA News.
Now joining us live to discuss more on the National Housing Program is the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing, Babatude Raji Fashola. Many thanks for joining us, sir.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
All right, I must say congratulations, for what you've achieved so far. But it's the mandate of the president that there is affordable housing for Nigerians, at least majority of Nigerians. Could you tell us how far you have gone in, fulfilling this mandate of the president?
Well, it's a work in progress, and all the commendation must go to our staff, the officers of the Ministry of Works and Housing, for the unstinting work that they continue to do to execute the mandate of our government and our president. But I think the way to look at this is part of the commitment to infrastructure, and this is a time-tested policy commitment that helps to grow every economy. Since the time of the Marshall Plan, infrastructure has been a well-used and handy tool policy to distribute wealth. So, looking at the very brilliant report by your field reporters there, I was looking at the human angle. Super Eagles members who have waited for 28 years for their country to come round for them. The Muhammadu Buhari government has fulfilled that dream. I saw the allottees of houses in Kano, Owerri, and other places, and this is going on in 34 states. So that's the human angle. And then, of course, I wish that there was much more focus on the artisans, the men and women who help to build our country by delivering these projects, because that's really the heart and soul of it. What we focus on too often is the finished product, who owns the house. But in each house, there are cables, there are pipes, there are doors, there are windows, there's cement, there's sand,
plumbing work,
you name it. And those are people's businesses. So if you tie that to how this gets to sight, you will see the heavy lifting that this government is doing through infrastructure and distributing wealth across the nation. You heard in one of the reports that it's indigenous people, and again, gratitude must go to the governors for offering us the land when we applied for them. And this is the collaboration that we need to see more of. And this was part of what I addressed at our National Council on Housing and Lands in Sokoto 2 weeks ago, that it's an all of government and all of the people approach. The states are also building, private sector is building, and so as we continue, we will reach as many people as we possibly can.
All right, like you mentioned, and of course, the reports that we've played so far, of course, it's obvious that Nigerians are taking advantage of this scheme, and, a lot of people are benefiting. But of course, I'm sure there are still a number of people who have tried to apply, who do not know how to go about it. Could you tell us what the ministry, as well as the agencies under it, is doing to help Nigerians easily access these homes and also pay with ease?
Okay, there are two levels. Everything that we set out to do, we monitor. So if you are familiar with our ministry, we are in one meeting or the other. We are monitoring programs, we are monitoring policies, we are testing impact, and we are testing compliance. So when we launch the portal, the National Housing Portal on the website for the allocation of these houses, we were upfront to tell people that we expect that there will be challenges, but as the challenges exist, please let us know, and as we get the feedback, we correct. So we have periodic meetings about feedback, challenges, and so on and so forth. But things have moved on quite rapidly, and you see some of the beneficiaries now are taking up their allocations. We are ready to allocate more, but people must go through that process for transparency we were accused at some point that, oh, nobody could benefit. It's heartwarming to see that those who have complied with the process have benefited, and so we'll continue to respond to those. You will also see that we're building through our parastatals, Federal Housing Authority.
Of course, yes.
Federal Mortgage Bank is also providing housing mortgage. So if you are a contributor to the National Housing Fund, you can reasonably expect, if you meet their conditions, that you can get allocation for a house. The Federal Mortgage Bank is coming to the market very soon with almost 7,000 housing units across Nigeria at different stages of completion. The Federal Housing Authority will also put some of its houses, including Zuba, on the market. So if people meet the conditions for eligibility, certainly they should expect that they will get their allocations, as we have seen demonstrated in Nigerians who have benefited. But I think that we must also understand that housing must be seen beyond the concept of ownership. We must recognize the millions of people who also have to deal with rental first before they can deal with ownership. And the advocacy I continue to make is that many of those houses under rental belong not to government but to private sector, and this is the all of the government and all of the people approach. If we make it easier for people to pay their rent, if we can find a point where there's a handshake between when the rent is paid and when salary is received, rather than asking people to pay 2-3 years rent in advance for salary they haven't received, then a lot of the pain will go away.
All right. Trying to take away the pain from Nigerians. I must say that's a brilliant one, and of course we must commend your ministry for that effort. But there are also reports that there are illegal occupants, here and there, in some of the houses, some encroaching into the lands and all of that. What's your ministry doing in that regards?
Look, every problem you solve creates a new problem. So, and that is the unending work of public service. So, if we build a house and we are going through a process of allocation and somebody is destitute and goes to occupy the place, what really can we do? We hope that some of the interested applicants will complete their processes and take up their accommodation. So, that person that was destitute clearly is not planning to own a house. He's looking for a place if he can rent one. So, but as long as he has to look for 2 years rent in advance, he will find something that matches maybe his daily income. And this is why it is important for us as a people to come together and understand that we must lock rent payment with when income is received. I will continue to make this advocacy as long as I have the ability and the platform to do so. So that's why I say that we must see accommodation, housing issues beyond ownership alone. That's only a small segment of people who can afford to pay and own a house. There are other people who in their working life may not earn enough, but they deserve and they can pay if you lock their rent with their
owning a house.
Salaries. But if you now tell them to go and bring 2 years rent from salary they have not earned, you're throwing them on the streets, and all of us must collaborate. Unfortunately, government doesn't own those type of houses where people are asked to bring 2 years rent in advance. It's private people, citizens like you and I. So I think we will get to that soul-searching moment where people begin to say, hey, this is my contribution to a better Nigeria. Stop paying 2 years rent. Go and bring 3 months rent or even 1 month's rent, and we'll be in a much better place.
Okay, being in a much better place, like you mentioned, earlier, talking about the fact that away from the housing projects, you're also trying to ensure that the federal secretariats are, in good shape, and there's construction going on. Could you tell us the different stages of these projects in Yenagoa, Gusau, and Lafia?
Okay, the origin of this new federal secretariat is state creation that took place many years ago. So when assets were shared, for example, Gusau is Zamfara, it was created from Sokoto State. When assets were shared, the federal secretariat at that time that used to serve Sokoto State ended up in the part in Sokoto. Same thing for Yenagoa, Bayelsa from, I believe, Rivers, and so on and so forth. So we are responding now. Nasarawa, I think from Kwara or Niger State, I don't remember off the top of my head now. where Nasarawa was created. So that was where the demand came from. Federal government presence, we don't have a secretariat, and those projects were awarded many years ago. They were not financed, contractors left the site. When I took office, I saw the need to address them. So out of about 5 or 6 of them now, 4, Nasarawa, Zamfara, Bayelsa and Oka in Anambra State will be completed before the end of this administration. We are furnishing some. We are dealing with snag work in some places. We're installing lifts in some places. We're painting in some. So we're on the home run to that. What that will mean is that civil servants who are hitherto either occupied offices rented from within the states where they work can now move into one complex. Services can be better provided and harmonized. It would mean perhaps less, more efficient spending of government resources for accommodation and services when they are disaggregated as against where they are harmonized. And I think that the working environment will be something they will be excited to see when it is finally put to use, and we can only expect that will yield to service delivery, better roads, better bridges, better houses, better security, and all of the services that government is expected and required to provide if the people who provide that service have the best environment in which to do their work.
And of course, that will guarantee that the civil servants would put in their best, and of course would in turn mean better service delivery.
Precisely the point I think to make. Thank you for making it for me.
Yes, because I'm a civil servant and I know things that motivate us. Now, talking about excitement, just before we go on this quick break, of course, a lot of Nigerians were excited about the fact that this administration decided, to fulfill the promise, made to the national theme over 20 years, like you mentioned.
20 years.
Yes. Could you tell us why that was a priority for this government?
Well, I think that every problem that we meet, we will do our best to deal with it. So while we were building these houses, it was brought to our attention. We didn't make the promise, but the government of Nigeria, for which we are custodians and trustees today, made that promise. And we thought that, look, why not? If we have houses in 34 states, most of these Super Eagles players are now in their much more advanced years. The fit and proper thing to do was to redeem that promise on behalf of our predecessors and on behalf of Nigeria. We made a recommendation to President Buhari, and he had no difficulty at all in approving it. And then we took the members to the various sites, and some of them preferred to choose housing in their state of origin. Some of them preferred to choose in their state of residence, but they all went around and chose what they wanted.
Brilliant. Many thanks. Of course, this conversation continues after this break. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Beneficiaries of the federal government's national housing scheme are pleased with the process of acquiring the homes, describing it as simple, hitch-free, and accessible. Replang Dumter went to Abuja, the location of Nasarawa State's housing project, and reports that it will facilitate the provision of adequate and affordable housing for Nigerians.
Determined to provide affordable housing for Nigerians, the federal government stepped in to mitigate the challenge to meet the housing needs of the nation's growing population and urban migration. Beneficiaries of the scheme in Nasarawa State explained that the application through the website of the Ministry of Works and Housing is hitch-free, as they clicked on their choice category of 1, 2 or 3 bedroom flats, applied and were reached out to for the mode of payment, which they say is flexible.
After application, I was told that I'm qualified. So I was given a letter. So I now came to field office. Then I was directed to Federal Mortgage Bank for processing. So I'm still processing. For me, I applied for mortgage. But the issue with mortgage is that you have to pay 10%, which I have issue with it to pay 10% at that particular moment. So I went to reapply to change it to rent to own, so that you have deduction straight from your salary.
I got information through a WhatsApp group
and all I did was to go to the website of Federal Ministry of Works and Housing and applied for a 2-bedroom bungalow.
Federal Controller Works and Housing, Nasarawa State, Garba Bashir, says the first phase has been completed and the facilities such as the roads, electricity and water have been put in place. The first phase has 76 houses, out of which 48 are 2-bedroom flats, 24 are the 3-bedroom flats, while 4 are the 1-bedroom flats.
The beneficiaries are coming to us and we are directing them to Federal Mortgage Bank for payment. Up to now, nobody has come back, with evidence of payment to us for onward allocation.
This scheme will no doubt go a long way in affording many Nigerians the opportunity to own their own personal homes, thereby solving one of the basic needs of mankind, which is shelter. From Akuruba, Replong Domtur, NTA News.
And in Kaduna, the federal government has provided additional 124 housing units in the past 7 years of the present administration as part of the ongoing efforts to bridge gap in housing deficit. Atari Maxwell reports that arrangement is on for final handing over of the houses to beneficiaries.
Is built along Kaduna Zaria Highway in Rigachukun, comprises 3 2- and 1-bedrooms apartments, are part of low-cost houses provided by the Buhari administration. It was designed to accommodate medium and small-income earners. Providing decent shelter to urban and rural communities is key to attaining development. The Rigachukun Federal Housing Estate will soon be handed over to beneficiaries.
The houses are very, very okay. It's just a normal application through online application, and we made the payment through online payment. That's all.
The federal government has brought in like 3 procedures how you can occupy the house, how you can get access to the house. I know there are 3 payments. We have outright purchase, we have the rent-to-own arrangement, and then we have the mortgage. So I think people are making this arrangement before they can come and collect their keys and occupy the houses.
Work at the 3rd phase of 13 units blocks of flats has reached appreciable stage and expected to be delivered before the end of this year. The National Housing Scheme program no doubt is putting smiles on the faces of beneficiaries. The consensus here is that more of such intervention by the federal government is needed to enable Nigerians own a house. In Kaduna, Atari Maxwell, NTA News.
The National Housing Program of the federal government has recorded a huge success in Osun State, as all the houses under the first phase have been allocated to beneficiaries. The second phase of the National Housing Project is nearing completion. Femi Afarigun, who visited the housing estate at Ebere, reports that beneficiaries are grateful to the federal government for the scheme.
To bridge the housing deficit gap, federal government in 2016 launched National Housing Program across states of the country. Osun is one of the states that enjoyed early completion of the first phase of 68 units of housing, comprising of 24 units in condominium, 24 units of bedroom, and 20 units of 3-bedroom bungalows with facilities. The new house owners under the first phase see the whole process seamless.
You're looking at the concept of housing. You want somewhere whereby psychologically you're okay. Facilities are all provided, water, road, electricity.
I will keep on appreciating the federal government for these laudable projects, and I hope it will be more expanded.
To God be the glory. So all the 68 units have been allocated. They have been sold. So even people have been applying for the unit in this phase 2. It is online, so you apply online, and we have been giving the website out to the public to apply. It's not a hidden something, and it's not a man no man. Just apply.
Work on the second phase of the project is progressing. Among other facilities, it has 2 condominium, each of which has 16 units, 2 bedrooms, 4 units, 1 bedroom, and 4 units, 3 bedrooms. Aside these, there is 4 units of 2 bedrooms, 32 units of 3 bedrooms, while water treatment plant, road network, and electrification have all been completed.
maybe about 45% completion. So work is still ongoing. Hopefully actions are going to be expedited so that we'll come to completion as soon as possible. Standard are not compromised because working based on international standard, I will make sure that the contractors are well supervised so that they give us the best standard that is possible.
Indirectly, the project has generated more than 6,000 employment. The food vendors, these building material suppliers, then the bricklayers, carpenters.
The completion of the second phase will see to the provision of additional 84 units of houses at affordable prices for Nigerians. Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
We still have the Honorable Minister of Works and Housing with us, Babatunde Raji Fashola. Thank you for remaining with us. Talking about the stakeholders conference which just held in Sokoto. Of course, there were issues raised as regards states assisting their citizens get affordable houses, as well as recapitalization of the Federal Mortgage Bank. Could you tell us what your take is as regards the general outcome of that conference?
Well, I think it was a successful National Council meeting, which is what it is. We meet every year with all the states to share policy developments and to also enlist support and collaboration for initiatives. The National Housing Program that you see is the final result of a policy initiative that I shared at the National Council, I think in 2016. The very first council, asking states to give us land. So this is what it has delivered. So again, at this council, one of the major things we discussed were some of the things you've spoken about: Federal Mortgage Bank, including improving the quality of service it delivers, getting states that have not joined the scheme to get their public and civil servants to join the scheme so that they can benefit. But I think overall, what you see from all of these reports is another side of Nigeria, a side different from the Nigeria that some people prefer to talk about. This is the side of Nigeria where government is coming through for their people. This is the side of Nigeria where families are moving to new homes. This is the side of Nigeria where people are getting work at construction site, earning a living by supplies, benefiting from the economy and contributing to building the nation. So it's a work in progress. This work is unending work, public service, but I am enthused to see that at least some of the plans we made, some of the programs we committed to are now delivering results. State governments, by the way, are also delivering houses. And as I said, there's a lot of houses being delivered by the private sector, and I'm sure the NTA also helps to advertise some of these things. So we're heading in the right direction as far as I am concerned, and this is work that must be sustained and consolidated upon. But as I say, apart from those who also, and this is only one part of what the federal government is doing, the National Housing Program. There is funding of houses by the Federal Mortgage Bank. There is building of estates by FHA, and I wish that sometime you will do a more in-depth cover on those two parastatals and see what they've done nationwide that is not known perhaps to enough people. But that is the building side. There are people who don't want to buy government houses. They have land. They want to build by themselves.
And government is also assisting.
They don't have title. So in the last few years, we've signed over 6,000 COOs.
Wow.
Some of the people who bought government houses when they were monetized. Some, as I see some applications dating back to 1992. We're just signing the COOs now. So that's another phase of housing. The other phase is that some people are buying their houses and they want government consent. This again is what we do every day, concluding those transactions so that they can access finance. So the housing spectrum is really a multicolored spectrum attacked from many ends. And I can say very confidently that we've moved the needle here and we've made it better, but there's still work to be done ahead, and we will do as much as we can within the time that is left.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and of course for your insight as regards this national housing scheme. Of course, most Nigerians are educated now, know what to do, to benefit, of course, in the subsequent phases of the program. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Time for another break. Please stay. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned recent attacks against non-indigenous and law enforcement officials by terrorists in the southeast, promising all possible action in conducting a speedy investigation to bring the perpetrators to justice. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, says the President condemned the slaying of 6 Nigerian citizens and a number of policemen at their duty posts and urged community and religious leaders to do the same as government works to restore peace across the country. He also offered condolences to the families of the law enforcement agents murdered and to the government and people of Niger Republic whose citizens were cruelly beheaded. Let's now talk sports. Day 9 at the Commonwealth Games, and Team Nigeria bags more medals with new world record holder of the women's 100 meters hurdles, Toby Amusan, set to defend her title on Sunday in Birmingham. Let's join our sports desk for more on the Commonwealth Games. Sadly, the body of former Inspector General of Police Tafa Balogun has been laid to rest in his hometown, Ilaorogun, Osun State. Bolaji Akim reports.
Ilaorogun, the country home of late Tafa Balogun, stood still as markets and shops were closed in honor of their illustrious son. On arrival, his body was received at the Ilaorogun prayer ground, where the chief imam of Ilaorogun, Alhaji Abdulhamid Salahuddin, supervised the janaza prayer before his body was taken to his compound, where full police honor was observed before it was lowered into the grave.
It was like a big father. When you have policing difficulties in policing issues, you can always go to him for advice.
I think he did. He was a brilliant officer, very sound on the ground, solid and fearless, very intelligent and eloquent.
He was a very brilliant officer. He's very receptive, and he operated an open door policy. The man is indeed well loved by the people of this community.
Tafa Balogun died in Lagos on Thursday, 4th of August. Tafa Balogun was the 11th Indigenous Inspector General of Police between March 2002 and January 2005. From Ilaorogun in Osun State, Bolaji Akim, NTA News.
That's a package on Weekend File tonight. Many thanks for watching, and please remember that rape is a crime. Do the needful. I'm Yen Ray John. Have a good night.